you ready to raise your game at Fort Union Military Academy? Sometimes described as the West Point of high schools, Fort Union is a leading college preparatory Christian boarding school for young men grounded in the structure of discipline of the traditional military academy model, and scholarships are available. Fort Union Military Academy's athletic program has produced hundreds of college and professional athletes, including 6 Olympians, 2 Heisman Trophy winners, and more than 120 NFL players. Fort Union Military Academy is a private school and is independent of any direct military affiliation or obligation. Schedule a tour and get started on your journey today by visiting fortunion.com. Fort Union Military Academy. Body, mind, spirit.
Welcome to New Lacrosse Journal's Chasing the Goal podcast, your destination for all things lacrosse. I'm your host, Kyle Devitte. We have on the other line, as always, Mr. Owen Hart. What's up, man? How are you?
How's it going? I'm not sure you can tell, but I've been using a different laptop for these last couple of Zooms. My current one's broken, and my camera's in the bottom instead of the top. So I have to stack books on the top to make it look it's at my height. And one of the ones I'm using is my high school yearbook. And in the lacrosse team section, they have me listed as a different kid. So it doesn't say Owen Hart. In the 2019 Westwood yearbook, it says Kevin McDonald, a kid that we get confused for all of our lives. So there is no record of me playing Westwood High lacrosse that I forgot about until I had to do this. It does not say my name.
I think everyone has a bad yearbook story, or like my bad yearbook story is I'm in the JV soccer picture as a freshman, and I have honestly, it's not even bad. I have a sick mullet. Like, it is sick. Like, early 90s mullet. We're down to here. We're doing this. It's looking real good. It's the only picture that exists of me with the mullet, because I only had it for a very short time, despite growing it out for a long time. But, you know, we're not here to talk about yearbooks. We're here to talk lacrosse.
Yep.
This show, we have a great guest. It's second timer on the pod, back when you were the coach at Queens, but we have Fort Union Military Academy's head coach and athletic director, Chris Panos. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm great. Thanks, guys. Before we get into it, I actually, the two things you just said, I do have books under the laptop right now because I was trying to figure out the height, because the chair that I sit in, it slowly goes down. And I'm thinking this thing's going to start going down as the show's going on. So I had to flip that around. And then the mullet, I was looking at a yearbook and with my mom, and yeah, the mullet was there as well back in '92. So that's a long time ago.
It's a good time. It came back briefly, and now hopefully it's dead. One of the first things I did after my season ended was get a haircut, and it makes a difference. Like, I had hair coming out from the hat. I just wore a hat 24 hours a day. I was like, I'm wearing my Hopkinton hat. I'm repping my team everywhere I go. And I haven't worn a hat for like a couple weeks, and I'm like, oh yeah, right. I'm lucky I still have hair. Let's keep rocking that. Let's talk about Fort Union Academy, because I think it's an interesting place. In my brain, by the way, sorry if I do this during the podcast, I call it Fort Union for some reason. I can't, when I search for your name, I put in Fort, and the internet's like, that doesn't exist. And I was like, Fork, and I was right. So, but just to clear that up, if that happens, it's because I have one of these little schisms in my brain. It's a postgraduate only school. Is that correct?
No. So Fort Union Military Academy, FORK Union Military Academy. It's in Fort Union, Virginia. But people will email and be like, oh, Fort Union. And it kind of makes sense. The military in the fort. I understand that. But we actually joke with like some of the wording and how to marketability. It's like Fork U and stuff like that to try to make people understand it's fork in the road, but kind of a play on words when we're using Fork U and FU. It's nothing, disrespectful. It's actually the acronyms of the school, FUMA. But it's actually a 7th through 12th grade boys boarding school, and we have postgraduate offers for football, basketball, and then I started the postgraduate lacrosse program, what is now going into our 3rd year, my 4th year here, but this is be the 3rd year coming of the program. So the unique thing about this team is I'm able to have rising juniors, rising seniors, and true PGs to kind of get this thing rolling. And It's been good to me. We've been really successful. We put every single guy, 33 guys over the last 2 years, all into college across NCAA. So we're just building on this next year coming in. So we're excited.
Just throwing off the military academy of it, as two guys who coach JV teams, it has taken years off of our lives with just the nonsense we had to put up with and get guys' attention. Is practice at a military school just like heaven, where it's just militant? Guys, stop when you say stop. It's this. It's precise. What is that like? If it is, I'm gonna get mad and transfer to a military school, because the stuff that I have to deal with at practice drives me nuts.
I mean, it's a process. You get these guys here. First of all, a couple of things. The mullets don't exist. It's clean cut. It's not shaven per se, but it's clean cut. We don't allow cell phones, which is a unique situation. When we travel as a team, we were allowing the kids to take them on the road trips, but like the customary, let me pull my phone out for like 20 minutes and look at stuff. That doesn't happen here. We're really based on character, discipline, respect, integrity, and faith. It's a Christian faith school. But I mean, boys will be boys. It's all boys. We have 40 different countries represented at the school. I really kind of deal with US and Canada for my team per se. But yeah, I mean, it's a process. When they come here, they don't really know what to expect. I mean, they're on a strict routine. There's not a lot of free time, which bodes well to the consistent approach of the daily habits. They're up early. They're in uniform. We offer a one subject plan, so they're not juggling 4 or 5 classes at once. We do one subject for 7 weeks. They take a final and they move on. So our team GPA over the last 2 years combined was a 3.9. So there's no real excuse not to be successful academically. And then obviously the lacrosse landscape. We're playing junior colleges, NCAA D2, D3, NAIA. We're playing upwards of 30 games, and there's a huge strength and conditioning program as well. So we kind of kick things off in August, and we go all the way through the end of March if you're a true PG. And then if you're not a true PG player, so for example, last year we had 16 guys on the roster. 8 of those guys were true PGs. They're pretty much done after our last game at the end of March. The remaining 8 guys from last year's team, they're actually still technically in 11th and 12th grade. So they're able to, we kind of push them down to our varsity team, which plays in the Virginia Prep League, which is still high level of competition. But the guys that I recruit, rising juniors, rising seniors, and PGs, they're kind of in my program for about 8 months. So we're pretty much doing stuff from the fall, winter, and spring, which also includes 2 big tournaments in Maryland, Autumn Gold and NHSLS, which we've done really well out there as well.
You've got a history of being one of the best Americans to play in the NLL, box lacrosse. You won the Mann Cup 3 times. Like, I feel like people don't know what that means unless they know anything about box. Can you speak a little bit about how your playing career as a box player has, grown into where you are now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, when I got into the league, let's take it back to when I was a kid. My dad took me to what was at that time the New Jersey Saints playing in the Meadowlands, New Jersey. We went to a game and I was just like, and I played Pee Wee lacrosse and Pee Wee football, but he took me to that game and it was just like, I'm like, after the game, we're walking back to the car and it's like, I'm like, Dad, I want to play in that league when I get older. And I said, yeah, son, sure. Yeah. Okay, great. Sounds great to me. We'll make it happen. But anyway, and then ever since then, like I went up to Canada, played what we called the friendship games, where basically we took a field club team up to Canada, played box, got beat up quite a bit because we didn't really know the nuances of the game. And I just kept enjoying the physicality and the entertainment value and the fast-paced nature, this high level of skill and just everything about it, really. It's so I got drafted in 1997 to the Boston Blazers, the original Boston Blazers, first round, 4th pick overall, which, in any other sport, you're pretty much set up financially. This was really, hey, we like you. We'd love to have you come out to training camp. And usually rookies don't play much. They usually get cut. And at the time we were playing, you get paid per game. And if you didn't dress for the game, you got even less money. So we're talking hundreds of dollars. We're not talking anything, substantial. But 2 of the guys on my team, because the league is predominantly about 75, 80% Canadian. So 2 of the guys on my team, Marty O'Neill was a goalie and Rodney Tapp was a faceoff guy. And they were like, man, you got a lot of potential. It's like, the only thing you really need is just get more experience. And they gave me a couple phone numbers. Long story short, I basically drive up there on my own dime for the Brooklyn Redmen. they throw me out there for like training camp, try out. I score a few goals, and then the GM's like, "Hey, like we'd love to sign you. Can you move up here next week?" And at the time, I was working at a lacrosse store in Weymouth, Massachusetts, and I'm like, "This is an opportunity for me." And my mom's like, "What are you doing? Were you going to get in the car and drive to Canada? What are you going to do with yourself?" I'm like, "I'm going to go try to follow my dreams and play box lacrosse with a bunch of Canadians chasing me around with wooden sticks." And so the rest is kind of history, because I would piggyback the summer with the winter and playing 20 games in the summer, Canadian box, then it would kind of parlay that into my winter offerings. And I was part of 5 organizations that folded, so the NLL was pretty fragile. I was actually part of the last year of the MILL, which people may or may not be familiar with. So lots of just transitioning. And, but yeah, I mean, now you're seeing kids play box, a lot more Americans up there, but, you know, I'm really proud of what I was able to kind of do and just, you know, make a career out of it.
We joke about it. If you're working lacrosse, you do like 30 different things. You don't have your one little gig that you fall into. You have this, another thing there, something in the fall, in the winter. I'm sure back then it was even 10 times that. What do you, and I'm not, admittedly, not a box guy, never played, don't really watch that much. And I feel like the adage is box translates to field, but field doesn't really translate to box sometimes. What kind of advantage would you say players can get if they play box lacrosse when they get onto a 6v6 in a field game? What do you think, if there's some things that kids can pick up at young levels if they want to start playing box lacrosse? What kind of skills translate, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, obviously the physicality. I mean, there's no poles, just the angles, the goaltending, the up and down, the picks and rolls. I mean, you're seeing a lot of that kind of added into offensive formations and sequences. Just the shot clock evolution now. I mean, again, back then when I was playing at Hofstra, there was no shot clock. So it was like sit on the ball for an hour and like win 5-4, and everybody was happy except the fans, because there was no entertainment. You know, you look at it now, you're seeing a lot of nuances with the picks and rolls and the transition and poles getting involved and defensive players becoming more offensive playmakers. You know, so again, I think the biggest thing is the skills, the high level skills and accuracy, whether it be passing on the stick or the ability to get to better angles in front of the net and kind of create opportunities. So I love the kind of the development of just kind of meshing it. And that's why you're seeing with the sixes, it's kind of, although the goalies are getting shelled in that team, I mean, it's kind of like they're getting 70 shots at their head. But I look at it as like, that's real good. The sixes is kind of great, especially for what the Olympics is, for the entertainment, high scoring, action, nonstop. So I think lacrosse is kind of getting to a sweet spot of giving you a little bit of everything.
I will say I am the biggest in the community of lacrosse writers. I am the most anti-sixes, and I'm being won over by watching my stepson play, and I'm getting mad about it. I watched him play last night, and he's running, and he kind of, if he doesn't have the ball, he kind of dances a little bit, puts one hand on the stick, and I'm like, he ran past me once. I go, put 2 hands on the stick or I'm going to lose my mind. And he was like, okay. And then after that, the moves that these kids try in sixes that they would never try in field or even box, because in box you get killed, is incredible. Like, they're doing double spin moves that they would get yelled at for if they were doing that in a field game, because rightfully so, a pole's going to come and take your head off. But in sixes, if you leave your guy in sixes, it's a goal, right? So there's a lot of man defense, and you have more freedom to do your dodge, and like, oh, it didn't work, and you're on the ground, like, oh, I can get up and pass because I don't have poles swarming me. I think that development for youth and like even like lower level high school, like freshmen and sophomores that are kind of just need something else to play, and maybe they're not big enough or physical enough to play box. I think sixes is so great for developing creativity. And I can't be against that, because that's also kind of my thing. I love, like, you know, behind the back passes and around the world. Like, we practice Canadian throwing on the team that I coach. We call the drill Denver, because Matt Brown invented it, and he's super Canadian at the University of Denver. And like, that helped us progress. And I'm just curious, are there drills that you've taken from your box background that you've now applied at Fork Union that you see making a big difference in the development of these players as your coach?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I like to your point, the creativity. It's like there's a time and place for shots. And again, in the sixes game, just to touch back on that, you have the opportunity. There's a lot more space. So you're playing in 5-on-5 against short sticks like you would in box. However, the confines of the rink are tighter. Whereas in field for sixes, it's still a wider field. So there's room to operate and kind of win those matchups. And there's not poles coming at you. And you can kind of finagle your way through traffic. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, the biggest thing for me, and I tell my guys all the time, I'm all about fitness, fundamentals, and IQ. The fitness of fundamentals and IQ. If we're in really good shape and we have really good skills and we're really smart about it, we can play with anybody. And we've shown that. And it's trying to have those guys buy into, again, the creativity. It's like, listen, I'm not going to yell at you for trying to behind the back shot or a shovel shot or a one-handed shot. I'm like, and we practice that. I mean, we do. Diving across the front of the goal mouth, you put a big track and field kind of pole vault mat. And it's like, hey, like, make a cool move and like, we'll just dive and celebrate. And like, we have fun with it because you want to have fun. I mean, practice is tough as it is. But I mean, yeah, I mean, we're doing lots of pick and rolls, stuff like that. I mean, again, it sounds basic and all, but we master the fundamentals, and that's really the key. It's like, I don't have a ton of drills. I have a lot of staple drills that we can kind of mix and mingle, but it's always going to come back to just the basics of the game and kind of like, can we really pass and throw and shoot? How is our footwork? What is our technique? Where's our positioning? How's our leverage? Things like that we're kind of just basic, simple stuff that they just kind of, they don't have to think about it. And then in the game, it's like, I don't have a lot of set plays. I'm just like, hey, this is kind of what we're trying to do, but I can't tell you what the defense is going to do. I need you guys to kind of react. And that's been an adjustment as a coach, because as a player, you're used to trying to control the outcome. As a coach, I'm just trying to prepare you guys to go out there and compete. But ultimately, it's like, you guys got to think it through and work together and communicate. So we just like to play fast and physical. That's kind of our mantra, and everything else. And playing the entire 60 minutes, the entire shot clock, whatever the case may be, whether we're up or down, we just want to play the whole 60 minutes.
Talking about reading and reacting, and I'm one of the worst coaches to play for, because I just won't give you an answer. If you ask me a question, I just say, it depends. Like, I'm not going to say when this happens, do this. It's hard, but especially at youth level, you need to learn experience of what does happen. What happened that time? Did the kid come from which angle? Where was your help outlet? Like, stuff like that. So like, you ask me a question, I'm never going to have an answer for you. It's really annoying. And I like to hear you say that, because it's pretty prevalent. Do you feel like because you obviously played a bunch of different ways. You grew up on Long Island, played in Canada, coached in North Carolina, wherever you're now. Do you feel like all those benefits have kind of helped mold you into who you are now? And would you say it's good for kids to play a bunch of different places before they start deciding where they're going to go to college, and kind of form different playing styles based on who they play with? Like, would you have the same advice for other people to do that same kind of path?
I think so. Look, I mean, now with club teams and playing on this team, and I'm a free agent that weekend, I got this jersey on, that jersey on. Like, I love multi-sport athletes. I just had a kid up here that played 3 sports. He was up here this morning for visiting recruit trip, but I'm like, play as much lacrosse as you can, get as much experience as you can, build as many relationships as you can. You never know where it's going to come full circle. I mean, if you have the opportunity to get, play some box lacrosse. I mean, I know there's these pop-ups and it's starting to grow box lacrosse, and like getting the quality coaches to kind of get out there and teach them the right things. And I love to see it, because not everybody can go to Canada. There's only so many opportunities to go up to Canada. So it's like, how do we develop that? US Boxel has done an incredible job with growing the sport. With Matt and Shaden over there, they've done an incredible job doing all that stuff. And Resolute does a really good job in Ohio, and you're kind of seeing a lot of these programs they want to take advantage of. And I realize there's a financial component to it. I get all that, but I'm just happy to see that they're actually getting taught by good coaches that have played the game at a high level, that can understand the intricacies of the box game and how they can kind of translate that to be successful in the field. So I'm all about kids playing box lacrosse, sixes, short-sided games. As I'm always like, as much touches as you can get, building confidence with your skills. Like if you just played the traditional, field lacrosse game that had no shot clock back in the day, and you're an attackman and defense, you could literally be sitting down there for a minute, 2, 3 minutes. It's like, I didn't touch the ball. I have no know what's going on. We can't win a face off, never getting the ball. I like the up and down. The shot clock gives it entertainment value. It gives teams a chance to get into a rhythm, but also you're not completely out of the game. If possession goes your way, maybe you lose a couple face offs, you clear the ball, you make a save. So there's always the ability to jump back in the game.
Sounds a lot like my men's league the other day, where I'm just sitting there flying attack, like never going to see this ball. Cool. I guess I'll just walk around and make conversation. It's interesting when you talk to a guy who has as much experience as you do, such success as a player, and like you've coached predominantly Division II, NCAA, and how you're kind of platforming that into now Fork Union. I was having a conversation with a D2 assistant the other day, and he's like, yeah, I'm interviewing for these jobs. I just don't think it's so hard to get a college head job and all this stuff. And I was like, have you looked at prep? And he's like, well, why would I do that? I'm like, if you think that's going to be it's going to be different in some ways, but in a lot of ways it's not, right? Like you can learn all the skills that you already have for recruiting and talking to these kids and talking to parents and getting them ready for games translates to the prep level. You just have to, if you have the same message, just change the tone a little bit and you're good, right? How has that transition been for you? Like, was it hard at first or did you kind of work your way into it to now you're in a good rhythm with coaching younger kids?
Yeah. I mean, so my career kind of started at University of Tampa for 3 years and we were super successful there. It was a great opportunity. I'm grateful for it. And that kind of parlayed me into the Queen's University, which was D2 for 6 of my 7 years there. And then that last year we jumped into the ASUN, which was definitely a daunting task, but it was a great opportunity. So yeah, I mean, being a head coach, there's always the organizational management. Most people will say, oh, you're a head coach. Like what else do you do for work? Well, I mean, that's a full-time job in its own right. I mean, you're recruiting, you're managing, practice planning, scheduling, logistics, inventory, equipment, you name it. So if you can get head coaching experience, even if it's at prep to me, it's head coaching experience on your resume. So at some point it's like, well, do you have any head coaching experience? It's like, yes. Okay. Where? Okay. Wherever. So at least you can start to build that out. And I know the assistants are always chasing the head coach's dream. And it's like, when you get there, it's like a lot of those guys, they're not really ready for it. And that's just, usually it translates where it's a guy's like an assistant for a couple of years. Then maybe they add him as an associate just in case things go sideways. They have somebody kind of waiting in the wing. And then usually they have the head coach and it's like, then it's just a delegation of duties. It depends on how big the staff is. I mean, the lacrosse, as you guys know, is the Wild West when it comes to staffing and full-time and no part-time. And you got grad assistants that paid, don't get paid. It's all over the place. So you'd be surprised just the financial component, all structured all throughout MCLA. It's wild, NAIA. So I figure if you can get head coaching experience, whatever level, jump in that and then kind of see how that goes, get your experience. Cause you may actually be a head coach and in a year or two, you'd be like, I can't handle all this. This is way too much work, too much stress, too much anxiety. And now when you're factoring in NIL and the transfer portal and everything, you don't even know what your roster is going to be
right
from year to year. So it would drive people probably crazy, especially now with what's going on.
Yeah. I was a head coach at Division III school that doesn't even exist anymore for 6 years. And I can comfortably say it's the worst job I've ever had because I had to I'm talking like the school was so small that I was an admin for like volleyball and I lined fields. So I'm out there lining fields and I'm dragging a rusty water cannon onto the field and getting that pump started and chasing away geese from the field. And like, I remember doing all of that one morning and then going back and sitting at my desk and putting my head in my hands and being like, what am I doing? Like, how is this? Because it was my dream, right? Like it was my dream to be a college head coach. And then I got it and I went, oh my gosh, this is horrible. Like, I don't want to do any of this. But I learned a lot from that, right? Like it's kind of be careful what you wish for, because then you get it and you're like, oh, right. There's a lot of prices you have to pay for that. So it's interesting you touch on that. A lot of coaches won't say that, but I did it and I remember it. And now when I coach, the first thing I say to whatever I'm coaching, I'm like, I don't do admin. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't rosters, uniform. I don't do that. I coach lacrosse. You're going to pay me to coach lacrosse, and then I'm going to leave. And they're like, well, I was like, I'll bring balls. That final offer, I'll bring balls. And it's interesting when you talk to people now that have jobs that have gone through it, those dudes all get it. They're like, oh, right. Okay. But if it's like a newer kid, like in the area where I live in New Hampshire, there's a lot of younger coaches, and they're all like young and hungry. And then, the malaise hasn't set in yet. The horrible thing hasn't happened to them yet in their life that like changes them into being a little more grizzled and experienced. But like, I'll talk to them and I'll be like, so what are your issues, with the team? Like, how's it gone? They're like, oh, nothing. And I was like, it'll come. And I said that to a young coach probably like 2 weeks ago. And it's like, what do you mean? I was like, you'll see. And just kind of walked away like a little bearded Yoda. And I love that you want to that you're touching on that, because being able to coach in adversity, in adverse conditions, is what makes you a good coach. Like if you just roll up and coach and you have all this talent and you roll into this team and you win, you don't learn anything. And neither do the kids. It just happens, right? And I have to imagine, I mean, you probably helped build your program you're at now from a much lower state, a much lower position to where it is now. And I'm always interested how you chose to do that and why.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So when I parted ways with Queens, this really was a unique opportunity for a couple of reasons. One, there was athletic, at the time it was assistant athletic director role. I'm now associate athletic director, but the real cool thing was basically building a brand new program from scratch. Now, if you're not familiar, the FUMA PG football and basketball have been incredible. I mean, we put over 100 guys in the NFL, NBA guys, all through big time college opportunities. This was usually a coaches inherit a mess, or it's like whatever reason, they bring in a new coach and it's like, hey, I got an existing group of guys. We got seniors leaving, freshmen coming in. So you always have a nucleus of guys. It's like, okay, let me talk to these guys, see where they're at. This was literally, there's no team, there's no program, there's a blank piece of paper, and figure it out. And then I would tell some people and they'd be like, what are you doing? You're not going to be able to do anything there. I'm like, nobody wants to go to that place. I'm like, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to try. All right. And literally, I'll be honest, I had anxiety. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. I'm like, I love challenges. I'm a hard worker. So I'm like, let's just see what we can do. We roll up your sleeves and you go at it. So the first year was July of 23 when I took the job. I had the entire year to build a team for the 2024-25 season. So I was able to pick up 17 guys, I'm able to give financial aid and work it out. I mean, I had 17 guys, we went 17, 10 and 2. We had a nice season. And then the cool thing about this is normally college, you basically seniors leave, freshmen come in and you have everybody moving up in class. And to be honest with you, I used to manage 40, 50 man rosters. And there'd be guys and I'm like, oh my goodness, I got to deal with this guy and his family for another 2 years. And I need to get rid of these guys because they're not buying it or whatever. This is cool because literally each year it's basically a brand new team that I built from scratch. So, and the rosters are small. This past year we went 21-6 and we had 5 games canceled by snow, which was a whole nother debacle. But anyway, I had 16 guys and 2 of them were goalies. So if you do the math, when we show up, we look like a small club team and you got these 40, 50 man teams that we're playing and they're looking at us like, we're going to kill you guys. And we're like, not so fast because we've been working pretty hard too. And it's all about development. I mean, these guys don't come off the field for the most part. So we're in really good shape. And, right now I'm sitting at 13 commits for this year. 2 of them are D1 commits already. So I'm excited about their future. And yeah, I mean, every year is a new build. So it's anxiety, but it's also excitement all kind of, because you don't know who's coming. It's like, oh, I got nobody coming back. I'm like, who's coming in? I'm like, well, I got a list of guys. I'm constantly at recruiting. I mean, I'm burning the phone lines up morning, noon, and night. So yeah, I mean, it's been a build, but we've won 38 games in 2 years. I mean, we've beaten D2, D3, JUCO, NAIA. We've done really well at the marquee events in Maryland. So I think we're off and rolling, and I mean, it's just about getting the word out there. It's not for everybody. But I think the biggest draw is the character development, the academic prowess, and obviously our ability to play a ton of games, bigger, stronger, faster. I mean, I can go into the numbers. Our strength and conditioning is crazy off the charts. So yeah, it's an 8-month buy-in, but you know, the fruit's in the labor.
You talked about the school pulls from all around the world, different countries. Where do you get your athletes from the most part? Do you kind of pull from the same region of the country? And do you find as you've gotten their weight, or you're kind of getting more kids from further out than you initially did? And I think that, and this happens in high school with going to college, I feel like kids get a little too rigid and they don't really look outside the wider scope. They think of just the schools around them. They don't realize that there's a ton of different opportunities. Do you think that you have become an opportunity for more kids that you weren't initially when you first started?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just signed a kid from Arizona who's a rising junior, and I was like, why'd you, he found us. And I talked to him on the phone. He's like, coach, he's like, honestly, he's like, I know I can play at a higher level. It's just unfortunately, I'm in Tucson, Arizona, and like the lacrosse out here is not very good. I'm over here with 3D New England training with them this summer. And he's like, I saw your program. I see what you've been able to do with your guys and whatnot, and the schedule and all that. So, I mean, I got kids from Saskatchewan, Ontario, Florida, all across the U.S. I mean, I've had Texas, Georgia, New York. I got a kid coming in from Tennessee. So like you're seeing these kids in these non-traditional areas that they want more exposure. They want a higher level of competition. They like the structure. They like the schedule, the strength conditioning, and we're a Christian faith school too. So we're not pushing guys to the service. Like we're not affiliated with any branch in the service. Less than 1% of our core cadets goes into the service. I mean, we have guys go to service academies, of course, but this is more based on high level academics and athletics with a Christian faith military style environment. So it's, they're up early, like I mentioned, and I'm seeing kids from all across reach out. Plus I'm doing a lot of outreach. I mean, I'm going to all the normal recruiting events that I go to. I'm getting the books, I'm emailing kids, I'm watching their film. And it's just, I get a lot of no's, and that's okay. And I'm fine with that. I don't mind that, because I'm more of a quality over quantity. Whereas in college, it was like you're recruiting 16, 18 guys every year, and some guys leave, some guys don't. I'm like, if you want a great opportunity, you're going to play a ton, and let's go. So I'm good with the 16 to 20 man roster, which is actually smaller than a lot of these club teams. I look at these club teams, and you've seen it. I'm looking at the sideline. I'm like, you got a 22-minute run and half. So no matter what, clock's running. You got the kid on the 10 guys on the field, and then you got like 15 guys on the sideline all looking at each other. I'm like, this isn't fun. You're not even going to play. And your parents are paying $3-4 grand, and you're running around with this team because the jersey looks cool. But like, are you really playing? Are you really getting any exposure? I don't know. I don't see it.
Yeah. Well, trust me, I could get real deep into that with clubs having too many guys and not playing. Cause I coach at a small school, and I have kids that play club, and they're on like the third tier of the club. And I'm like, why are you playing? Like they're junior, they're going to be a senior next year. I was like, why are you playing? They're like, oh, I want to play. I was like, hey, don't play summer ball. Go play pickup. Like there's now lacrosse has grown enough in the area where I am, where you have choices. Like not only do you have choices with club, you have choices of like how you want to spend your summer playing lacrosse. Like, do you just want to do showcases? Great. Almost every tournament has a pre-tournament showcase. So just go to that and pay half. Sorry, all the club direction. I'm going to get 7 emails when this comes out. They're just like, what are you doing? I'm like, sorry. Just an opportunity for my kids that don't get a lot of burn is what I tell them to do. I'm like, go to the showcases, send me the guys that send you the email. And I'll be like, you can definitely play there. You probably can't play there. Because having an arbiter, which is, this, because you do this too, of like, I don't know if you can play there because you're familiar with the level, right? Like, I'm sure that you probably get a lot of kids that want to play D1. Not all those kids can play D1, right? And that conversation is always tough. Like, I remember taking the job at Hopkinton and I was like, none of you are D1 players. I walked in, I watched them. I'm like, none of you are D1 players. And they all went like this. And I was like, I know that. And they're like, how? And I'm like, I coached college for 12 years, D2 and D3, and you would be lucky to make my teams. So we have to work harder for you to get better so that you can play college. Because my goal is to get guys at this school to play college. Because that's what I wanted when I was in high school, and I didn't have a coach that could do that for me. So I'm going to do that for you. And I think that's always a tough conversation. And I've asked a lot of coaches this, but I want to get your take on it. When a kid comes in and they have higher expectations than are realistic, what is your conversation like with that kid?
Yeah, absolutely. Good question. I mean, I basically, when I recruit guys, I ask them point blank on the call with their parents, what's your goal with lacrosse? If their goal right off the mouth is D1, I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to tell you right now. First of all, now with the roster limits the way they are, you used to get away with, carrying 55 some odd guys. That's no longer. So now you're going to scale it back to the 48. And it's like, where's your skill level at? Where's your physicality? What's your size? How's your speed? What are your grades? I mean, so like, I try to get an understanding. So my expectations and what you are, like, somewhere aligning. When a kid says to me, I just want to play college lacrosse. Now I get excited because I'm like, okay, great. I think you're somewhere in between this and this. I said, we can't rule out D1 right now, depending on your age. If you're a rising junior, we still got some time there. If depending on where, I always tell kids, look at the geography of the school, look at the academics. God forbid something happens. Is this school going to pay dividends? Does it have a good alumni? Like, if you're just looking at the shiny bag and that helmet and like, I want to play there. I'm like, you and probably 10,000 other kids want to play there. Are you good enough to play there? Does your work ethic match your kind of what your expectations? And it's like, I tell those guys real quick, like, I can tell you right now that you're not going to play at that level. I've put guys to D1 each year. I've had one kid went to West Point. He was a top 25 pick in the country. And I had a kid this year go to Mercyhurst. So, but like, those guys were different. They just were. They showed up early. They stayed late. I mean, they put in the extra effort, the time on and off the field. They were character-driven leaders. So, like, some of these guys just like, I just want to play at that school. And I'm like, let's make a list of D1 schools, D2 schools, D3 schools, NAIA schools, and MCLA schools. Just because, I mean, again, at the end of the day, you're not going to make money playing lacrosse at a high level. You may make it to that level, but take it from me. Even now, it's like they're not really making it full time financially. I mean, it's getting better, but you really got to make a name for yourself and a career for yourself using lacrosse as a vehicle to open the doors. And my goal for my guys is, let's try to get you as much academic and athletic money so you're not hemorrhaging student loans, 10 years from now, paying interest because I had to go to that school because I wanted to go to that school. I'm like, well, did they have your major? Can you afford to go there? So last year, my guys across 16 guys, they were offered over $2 million. They wound up taking about 1.5 of that across but each guy between athletic and academic, they were getting upwards of $80,000 to $120,000. But that was because they put the work in, they got exposure, they got their grades and they were a commodity. So I say making a list, we look at it. We're emailing coaches weekly. I'm having these guys proactively cut up their film, make their IMLCA accounts up to date, updating their grades, where they're going to be, tournaments, games of that nature, and being relentless and emailing weekly to a coach because they're getting thousands of emails, as you guys know. And then I say, if the coach tells you he's not interested, then let's just cross him off the list. We're like, I don't want to talk to the guy about you anymore. I'm not wasting my time. I'm like, but let's narrow it down to the few schools. And then it's like, okay, they're interested. They're not just inviting you to a prospect day to make money. They actually really genuinely like you. So I tell my guys, stick to the coaches that like you, that want you. And let's narrow that pool down because I may want to go there, but they may not have an interest. They may not have room. They may not have money. And it's like, but I want to go there. Like, well, then you're going to pay for it. You're going to pay for it. I'm like, you want to pay for that? No. So I'm trying to educate these guys on keeping an open mind and keeping all your options open, understanding that it's not free rides. You're not getting full rides. It just doesn't work that way. So let's try to garner as much money academically. And then if it's a D2 or a D1 or NAIA, kids sleep on the NAIA opportunity. There's a lot of money there. And the ability to get on the field early in your career. So I try to just value and prioritize. Let's not waste our time talking to teams that have zero interest in you just because they got a prospect email. It's like, they just kind of want to get some eyes on you. But generally speaking, you're probably going to keep the assistant coaches, head above water with some money coming in. That's how I look at it.
I could talk about this for 9 more hours, but I'll spare the listeners a little bit. Segueing back to, we always talk about long, illustrious playing and coaching career and coming from 2 public JV high school coaches, the amount of times that we've like, ugh. Please tell me you always have a lacrosse horror story or something that happened in playing or coaching. We were like, what just happened? Or something, like anything where you're in over your head, a coaching, playing, just some chaotic thing that has happened. Please tell me that you have some type of story like that.
Gosh, put me on the
that
spot.
you can share.
For public consumption.
Well, I'll tell you a story that actually, when we were at Queens, we were taking, I forget where we were going, somewhere up a big mountain. And all of a sudden, Mike started hearing this, it's a charter bus, and it's like hearing this rattling. I'm like, what in the world is that? And I'm looking out and I don't see none. So, so we stop at like the next truck stop, wherever we get off. So the cargo door that lifts up, this whole thing, somehow it was basically like off, like just hanging on by like a bolt. And we're just like, I wish I had a picture, which I do somewhere, but literally we went into like a hardware store and we literally duct taped the door kind of onto the side of the bus. So it was wild. Cause I mean, like literally we had to move all the gear out. Cause I mean, luckily we didn't lose anything, but the door was off. I don't know how we survived that without losing stuff. So we literally duct taped the door. Like there was about 80 pieces of duct tape. I mean, we have guys just ripping it off. Like, we got to go, guys. Like, we got to get out of here. So I don't know if that's a horror story, but it was definitely an interesting day. That's for sure.
Like that scene in Major when they're taping the propeller on the tiny plane to get in the air.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you haven't coached long enough to have your bus breakdown, you haven't coached long enough. Like, look, literally, like if you haven't gone through that as a coach, man, that's like rite of passage right there. Like, oh, a wheel fell off, or like the bus crashed, or like maybe not teetering on the side of a mountain as dramatic as that, but anything close to that, like engine blowing up. I tell you what, though, that's going to bond your team. I think that's what's cool about that. Moments like that really like bring the team together usually, right? If you already have the work put in, that kind of stuff is actually, I think, a little beneficial to like building the fabric of you. Like if you're not undergoing, not trauma's the wrong word. If you're not undergoing a real trial and tribulation with your boys, are you really bonding at all? Like I feel like it's a huge part of public school, private school, college, the workforce for a certain degree. Now I love that that's kind of something that maybe we don't talk, like it's one of those things that like coaches don't talk about or whatever. But I love having like your fresh perspective of like, yeah, I wouldn't send a kid to a place that just want the prospect day. Like I actually think that, but I don't think I'm allowed to say that. So thank you for saying that. Cause I share your belief, but I do think that if a kid really wants to play lacrosse and they have a modicum of athletic ability, and there's a, like you said, that 2-year window minimum, there's a place somewhere, I firmly believe that in my heart. And especially if you're bringing in, like you said, NAI and NCAA, there's always going to be a place if you work hard enough. And the key with lacrosse is, like you said, you want to get into a place that lacrosse opens the door for you and you get to do the work. And I literally am walking proof of that. I tell people that all the time. I was like, do you think I deserve to go to Clark? No. I had a 2.6 and I transferred in. I had a 2.6 from St. Mike's. And I got in a room with an admissions guy and I went, listen, dude, here's the deal. Time out. I get it. You don't want to take me. Here's why you want to take me. And I talked for 40, I don't even know what I blacked out for like 45 minutes. I just talked to this dude and was like, please, I will do this, 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 and this. And I don't even remember half the stuff I said, but he walked up the stairs. He walked back down. He took my file, threw it on the table, and he just goes, you're in. And I went, what? No way. And he's like, you have to do everything you said. And I was like, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was getting ready to believe this. I just went, shit. Okay. I don't remember what I said. And I said I would write for the school paper and the magazine and all that stuff. And I ended up doing that because like, that's important. But that's what lacrosse can help you do. Like he took a meeting with me because I was a recruit and they didn't have a coach. So like this dude had to take the meeting. He didn't have a choice. And it worked out so well for me. Everyone's like, oh, why do you talk about Clark so much? They suck at lacrosse, like all this stuff. I'm like, dude, you don't understand. That school like made 2 dreams come true for me. 3, actually. Got to play college lacrosse because I'm from the smallest town you've ever seen in your life. I got to coach college lacrosse and I got to write about lacrosse because of that school. So when I talk about schools and I talk to kids about the school they want to go to, you have to want to go there. Don't go to the school that you settle for. You know, for my kids, it's always like, oh, I guess I'll just go to UNH. I'm like, no, we don't do that. Rap on the hand. Is that really where you want to go? And if it is, great. If it's not, don't. And I think programs like yours give kids an opportunity to realize dreams like that. I think that's incredible. And one of the best gifts that you can kind of give back to the community is getting these kids ready for the next step, because that's not always easy, right?
One thing you said, University of New Hampshire. So they were deep. So when I was back 92 to 96, I was at Hofstra for Coach Danowski was my coach, and we played New Hampshire.
Yeah, they were doing. They cut the program my senior year of high school.
I feel like that
was my backup.
I feel like that team would be incredible.
It would. The girls team's all right.
They have so many kids up there that are really good. It's unfortunate that they went sideways there, but I mean, I'm just always like, there's always a lot of good kids coming out of New Hampshire.
Yeah. Well, any kids looking for PG, this is the podcast to listen to. I will send you this podcast, my kids, if you're looking for PGs.
Yep.
Fort Union Military Academy, definitely the place to check out. Coach, unfortunately, we're out of time, but thank you so much for joining us, and great to talk with you again.
Thank you, guys. My pleasure. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right, and we want to thank you again for listening to New England Lacrosse Journal's Chasing the Goal podcast. For Owen Hart, I'm Kyle Devitte. See you next time.